Welcome, everybody, to The Horizontal. This is Season 1, Episode 4. Once again, I am Mike Judici. We're going to be talking about Judici's League 11, last year, this year, fantasy football, so on and so forth, whatever you want to talk about. And today's guest will be going into his second year in Judici's League 11, Dan Genco, or I like to call him just Genco. Welcome.
Howdy, y'all. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. I guess we'll get right into it. 11-3, your inaugural season. Any opening thoughts?
Not really. I just kind of did what I normally do. It was kind of helpful because a lot of the leagues I've been in have had two quarterbacks. But besides that, nothing too out of the ordinary. I wasn't new to fantasy football, so it wasn't like anything too out of the ordinary for me.
Yeah, I can recall we were in E-Boys League, who had the two quarterbacks.
You're making me salty right now. Win the league, get kicked out when he makes it for money. Scumbag.
Yeah, kicked out too, don't worry.
Oh, God. Don't make me do that, please.
But yeah, you clearly had some experience going into it, which I think is the difference between Teach, Brian, and Josh and yourself. It seemed like you were a lot more comfortable. You actually seem like as comfortable as me and Nico in it. So that I could tell in your drafting that really helped. And as obviously what we talked about in the past, that you kind of draft similarly to me and Nico.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of scared going this year. Having us all back to back to back is kind of scary. But I really didn't know how you guys drafted. I kind of thought just by the way we talked beforehand and all the discussions that we had and just talking that we were kind of close, but the amount of times there was like a, what the hell? You just took the guy that I was going to take. Like one or two picks ahead of time or whatever was absolutely ridiculous. And so it's really scary going into knowing that there's definitely going to be some very hard maneuvers trying to pick around you guys, making sure that you get the players that you want and the quality players you want.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll get more into detail about last year's draft. And you had 7th pick, 11-3, very successful season. But we'll start with the draft. A.J. Green was your first pick. Any thoughts on him?
At the time, I was actually fairly disappointed, if you remember. And not going to lie, you kind of saved my ass with your DeAndre Hopkins pick. Because when you took him, I was swearing. I was just like, you took my pick. You took my boy. I can't believe you did it. And then A.J. Green just came down and fell to me at 7. And he was a rock. He got injured for a couple games, but other than that, he was a solid, even with the Bengals kind of being spotty last year. He was just overall solid and a great player.
Yeah, he did a good job when he was on the field. Definitely was a benefit for you. And I took DeAndre. I knew that was big on your list. I know Todd Gurley was big on your list. He went right before you. Did that make you? I think you were interested in him, if I could recall. Would that make you maneuver?
Yeah, that was Josh also saved me with that pick. You guys did a lot of saving by taking some what happened to be bad picks out of the way because I got Todd Gurley late in the year before last in my it's actually in your league, but it wasn't this official league.
Yeah, the different one.
A different league, and Todd Gurley just did work, absolute work, and he was only a rookie, and the sky looked like the limit for him, and he was I don't know, everyone seems to forget, but like on all the big draft boards, and I know this is regular leagues, but even still, like on all the draft boards, he was a top pick all around the board, and he was actually someone that I was prepared to take at 7. I was kind of hoping he was there, and Josh just happened to go and swoop him up.
Yeah, even in the PPR league, I mean, we've talked about it previously. That you just that's someone you looked at.
Yeah,
looked at twice.
If you can get a good 110 yards and a touchdown every game as a running back, you're worth a top pick, and that's kind of what he put out when he was there at a minimum. And you know, he was one of those guys that was his baseline, and it only went up from there. So
Absolutely. And AJ Green is a good pick, but I gotta say it's a very solid pick. Probably the quietest pick of the round. He kind of just knew what you're gonna get. It seemed like that everyone just cleared the area for you. I would say took like Gurley, Beckham, Hopkins, Julio. It's like it was just meant to be. It
yeah,
seemed like that was like the best option.
yeah. AJ Green was the best option when it came to me. He normally isn't that much of my style, or wasn't, but he really sold me because he was just consistent, which is something that I really look for in players. Like I don't like getting players that are injury prone or anything else, just because I'd much rather have a guy that's going to sit there and get me 10, 15 points a game constantly, rather than get me 8 and then get me 25. Like
Right.
it creates such an inconsistency with your team that you don't know what to expect with them in and out.
Yeah, and I think your team had some pretty good consistency last year.
Yeah,
11-3 definitely shows it. First seed. Congrats on most points as well. Yeah, got a
yeah,
good Would you get 20 or $30 for that? $30?
yeah, something like that. I don't know if I actually ever got paid. I think I just told Nico to like buy me a pizza or something. We called it even. So, you know, it's
Fair
whatever.
enough.
It's whatever. But yeah.
That was good. Um, Aaron Rodgers. So before I say that, we've talked a lot about quarterbacks in the previous podcast. We get to talk to the person who took one first. You set the bar with Aaron Rodgers. What was your thinking when you're making that pick?
So if you look around, when I took that pick, there was no one at the time that really, really screamed at me that was like, you should get this guy. And I know Nico was high, and Aaron Rodgers is a very Nico type player, and I knew I wanted Rodgers, just because no matter what, he's gonna get you 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that was just having that consistency. And I've known in 2 quarterback leagues, you need to get one consistent guy, and the other guy it's good to have consistent, but you can wait till the later rounds. And Aaron Rodgers is just one of those pitchers of consistency. And I knew it wasn't because Nico picked. I think he had the sixth pick, and I had the seventh. So coming back around, I knew that he was going to take him. Probably not in the second, but I think it was the third, because I don't think anyone other than really Mike or Nico really knew how good quarterbacks were going to be. I'm not sure how many other people in the league, but I just knew that having the consistency there was important, and there was really no one else on the board that. So it was. I feel like it was a little bit of a reach. I didn't want to take one that early, but I knew that my man wasn't going to be there, and there wasn't anyone that I really wanted in place.
I think he's certainly worth wherever you take him. Rodgers especially. Maybe another quarterback depending on how they are, but I feel like Rodgers is always the key fantasy guy you go after every single year. You should take that guy very high all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. And looking at the history right now, he probably could have won next pick because we saw Igo got Cam Newton, and then Brady went 2 picks after. So there's 3 quarterbacks in the second round. So you clearly
I th-
started something, or that's where the quarterbacks were going.
I feel like I don't know if they would have actually gone there. I think it was kind of. I think I had a discussion with Nico. I could be wrong. He could yell at me later, but I think we had a discussion that he didn't want to take him that early. But everyone kind of got antsy and was like, we. Everyone who like knew how the league was going to go, because I had played in it before and Nico had played in it before, knew that you needed to secure a quarterback spot, and they saw those guys go and they were like, we got to pick those guys up. And so I don't know if I triggered that or they were already prepared to do that, but I feel like it was a little bit of both. I don't know if they would have jumped that early, maybe taken them in the third round, but I feel like some of it was a domino effect, some of it wasn't. It's
And that's been what's the question mark through these podcasts so far. We just don't know when the first quarterback's gonna be taken. We don't. We know their value. We know they're important. We understand there's 2 quarterbacks, but everyone wants to get that secure, top receiver, running back, whatever you have at first. Did
Yeah,
someone reach? I don't know this year.
there's
I have
just
no idea.
it's so I don't know with just all of the talent and how deep it is this year. It's just gonna be at least I see it difficult taking a quarterback early. Like maybe late second round is when they start really looking like some of the better picks. But there's just so many deep. It's so deep with talent when you're talking about all of the running backs and pass catching running backs and all the receivers in a PPR league. It's just so difficult when you can grab, if you could possibly grab, hopefully the guy you're taking in the first round is getting you 20 points a game at whatever, at a minimum, if you're taking in the first round. But
Right.
with how deep the talent is, if you're lucky and you know what you're doing, and with a little bit of luck, you should be able to get 20 points out of your first two guys. Like there's some guys that I have a feel like, especially this year, there's a lot of young guys that could really be a like up and coming talent that either has kind of been showing and they're just waiting to get over that hump, or they're just going to explode out. I feel like there's a lot of young running backs and receivers in the league that are just prime for exploding.
Well, as we know exactly, and as we know, sports are just getting younger, the age, and football is no exception to that. Definitely seen guys come out of nowhere, and it's almost hard to keep up with because you're used to the same names every single year, and then you see some random running back out of who knows Washington will just random guy. You're like, oh, this guy's been putting up 100 yards the last 3 games. You're like, oh, well, I never heard of him. Guy was drafted in the 7th round of the actual draft, and you're like, well, this is someone I actually have to consider starting like for good.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing that I don't know. Unless if you get them, it's really difficult. Like you got to read the draft as it goes. Like if there's a really good guy, I'll take him. But I know Nico talked about it, but I'm a fan of getting good running backs at great value. So you can get them late in the draft, or even you go into the first couple weeks, and you know you're just looking around, and then there's always a guy that just explodes. Like I know I did that last year. Like I picked up Jai off of waivers, I
Waivers,
believe. Yeah,
yeah, and that's probably
there's always a guy that explodes, and I mean you got to be quick with it, and sometimes you got to jump the gun. You got to be like, well, I'm not looking that good at running back, but you just got to take that guy. You just got to you got to watch a bunch of games. You got to read the talent. Like
the eye test is sometimes the best thing to do.
yeah,
You say, well, this guy's been looking really good, solid. And Jay Ajayi, honestly, was probably a top 3 pickup entire year. I know Mariota was also a very good one because he had a very solid year before he got hurt. Jay Ajayi was top 2, top 3 pickup. Definitely helped you, I would say. Had a couple. Do you recall if you started him for those 200-yard games?
I did not, but that's because of some of my own personal bias. Because his 200-yard games came against the Bills, and
No kidding.
depending on I don't know. Part of I know you gotta keep your your fandom and your fantasy separate, but there's at some point where like I had the guys that I could start and debatably going to do just as well, and it just so happened that Ajayi went off that game, and I can't. I don't know. I have a hard time sitting there being like, yeah, I think this guy's going to pop off for 200 yards against my team.
Yeah, you can't predict that.
Yeah,
You can't predict that. Though your team was solid all around, I gotta say. We'll keep going into it. Third round, another good pick. A little risky, I'd say, Jordy Nelson, because coming off a knee injury, right? Yeah.
yeah. No, he was coming off a knee injury, but I don't know. I was high on Jordy because you saw what he did, what Aaron Rodgers could do with him on the field, and then you saw how much he struggled with him off the field, and he just to me that just picked up more value. And I know he was coming off a knee injury, but that was really the only time that he's gotten an injured in the season, like real bad, like had something that you have to worry about. It's not that like the guy was always get out for a toe or a
Right.
pulled hamstring. Like he was relatively solid, and when you play a game like football, everyone Tom Brady is Mister I'm always there. He's torn stuff. He's been out for seasons. So like everyone gets those things. You just got to look at you know just got to feel it out.
Yeah, it's a great observation because that would Jordan Nelson would scare off a lot of people, but you do make a good point. That was a one time like freak thing, and the way knee injuries have been repaired now, these guys come back just as good. So
If not
especially when
better.
he had a full 12 months because he did hurt in the preseason if I can recall.
Yeah.
He had a full 12 months, so he basically came off. He had plenty of time to get back.
Yeah. I wasn't too worried. I just thought that he was gonna have an amazing season, and I don't know. It's risky, but I also like the quarterback receiver duos because it can really, if your team's having a tough time, sometimes it really just pulls you through.
I
Both
was
of them have a good game.
I was just about to go into that because I think that's something we both agreed on, and we've talked about in the past is elite quarterback and top receiver duo. I think it's fantastic. I think it really helps out, and you clearly had that with Rodgers and Nelson.
Yeah.
It certainly benefited you throughout the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of risky, but like when you have someone like Rogers and Nelson, you know that you're going to both put them out. Like,
It's almost a sure thing.
yeah, it's almost a sure thing, and a lot of the times, even with those guys, even when Aaron Rodgers has an off game and has like, 200 yards and a touchdown, 100 of those yards, a lot of those times is going to someone like Jordy, and because it's a safety blanket. So like a lot of those times, if one guy's not performing, the other guy's literally popping off, and so but I don't know if I do it with some of the lesser quarterbacks in the league, or like some like the mid range guys. But if you have like a top level talent, like if you have Julio and Matt Ryan, or Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson, it's it's a potent combo because those guys can put a game away,
That's the thing
before it starts.
because we'll take a 20-yard pass for a touchdown. You already automatically have 12 points just from touchdowns. 13 at another point for the catch. Like a fourth of a point for completion. And then you got like almost another point for passing yards. You're getting 14, 15 points just from a play.
Yeah.
Just from a single play.
Yep.
And say you're winning, maybe it's a Sunday night game. We'll call it a Sunday game. You're up 15 points. That brings it all the way to 30 in one play.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it's like, now you have to pray. If you're the opposing matchup, you have to pray your guy, maybe it's a Monday night game, he has to go off.
Yeah.
And that duo could just simply
Just
put it away. And especially if it's someone elite, like a Matt Ryan, Julio, and a Rodgers Nelson, don't expect bad games. You gotta expect great games, actually.
Yeah.
Every single time. You gotta expect Aaron Rodgers to hit 320 yards with 3 touchdowns and Nelson with 6 catches and 100. You gotta expect it.
Yeah. And even when he doesn't do that, it's Aaron Rodgers is popping off, doing other things and getting it to other balls and having more extraordinary games because people are covering that number one receiver like glue, and so he gets to go other places with it.
Right, that's the thing too. It's like maybe your receiver doesn't have the best game, but you know what? Your quarterback was able to find other holes in the defense, and you know what? He had a fantastic game that actually made up for the receiver's lackluster performance.
Yeah.
It gives you options. Definitely gives you options.
It definitely
And
does.
I think it's an underused strategy, and it's a strategy that can actually be used in standard and PPR leagues,
Yeah.
no matter what.
It's kind of difficult to pull off too.
It is tough, absolutely. You got to
Just because a lot of those time those top quarterbacks and top receivers are all top picks, and
yeah, you got to be damn
know.
sure you know who you're picking.
yeah, because
you're-
Jordy, he still might be around. He's one of those guys that everyone always underestimates until about halfway through the season. They're like, why did I let him slip to the third? So
Right, and you know what? There's probably people out there, other fantasy owners, and not anything in this league in particular, but tried that same strategy with, say, an Andrew Luck or T.Y. Hilton, and T.Y. Hilton obviously had a good year, but clearly Andrew Luck didn't. You
Yeah.
know, you got to be careful who you do that with because it could turn into it could ruin your team.
Yep.
Maybe someone thought that Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson were gonna that combo, but clearly it's
Yeah.
if you're gonna do that strategy, you gotta make sure those guys are established.
Yep.
That's exactly what I would do.
It's real difficult sometimes.
Yeah, even like now in this, it's a little bit different. But I had Matt Ryan and Devontae Freeman.
Hmm.
Now Freeman could catch some balls in the backfield, which actually, but honestly, did help. Like, I didn't expect Atlanta to go off like that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Having that kind of combo,
Yep.
certainly, it didn't get me to the playoffs. But you know what? It got me close.
Yeah.
Those two guys, it certainly got me close.
You just, yeah, you were there. You were there. It just so happened that you took a couple guys that I thought were good guys, and you got torched that year, and I just happened to fall into some stuff that happened. That's the difference. That's the difference between our seasons. It wasn't even it. It was literally the fact that you got to pick before me.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
that was the difference.
It started with the first round with DeAndre because you probably would have been in the same spot taking him.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
mean, we would have had much closer records if you had AJ and I had DeAndre. We would have much closer looking teams and records. So,
That's for sure. And to bring this up again, unfortunately for myself, but AJ Green, a certain play against the Cleveland Browns, a Hail Mary,
yeah.
where you beat me by 6 points 1 week. He got a so to describe the play again, he had a Hail Mary at the end of the half against the Cleveland Browns, like a 50 or 60 yarder, which was just like they were already up. It was so unnecessary.
It was a complete Cleveland move to let him get the Hail Mary.
And you think
Cleveland move.
that's 7 points,
Yeah.
and I lost by 5. So basically, an AJ Green, I've been saying it since the end of the season. An AJ Green Hail Mary cost me the playoffs.
I mean, Bags, I'm just saying, you might want to cut down on the sodium intake. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, you know that's what back-to-back fifth place seasons are
Yeah,
gonna do.
that raised my sodium levels too, so.
And I also was 6-8 last year, which 6-8 actually made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And then the year before that, I was 8-5. 8-5 made the playoffs. There was 5 8-5 teams, and I was the 5th.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
That's the name of the game.
Yep.
No doubt about it. Not something that was not lucky for you. Sammy Watkins in the 4th round was, we call your first hiccup, I would say.
Yeah.
Want to talk about Sammy?
Yeah. I really thought coming off, because at the time of the draft, they were talking, at the time last year, he was supposedly healthy. He came back healthy. He was looking good. There was no reports of his foot being all types of clobbered. And I follow the Bills pretty in depth, and like just looking at using the eye test, looking at training camp and everything. He was looking good, and when he was on the field, he was looking what I would call like 95%, and when you saw him at 80%, he was good. So I was just sold, and he just happened to have another down year, down by injured. He's just one of those guys that when he's hot and he's good, watch out. But you know,
Doesn't come consistent enough.
it's not consistent. He's constantly hurt. He's constantly, you know, not on the field, but on the field more as a decoy than an actual player, just to make the people respect him, rather than having the third string guy that's probably actually better than him at that point, but because of the recognition he gets at being the potential talent he is kind of like a decoy. And that's what he served a lot of as.
And just looking at your draft now, you really do love the eye test. It seems like the more you watch a guy, like you're not some guy who's gonna glue your eyeballs to the stat sheets at the beginning of the year. You're gonna go by, how did I watch this guy last year? How did he look?
Yeah.
Because I know you like to take a lot of. You are a Bills fan, and you obviously took McCoy, Watkins, and Taylor. So clearly you did see a small core there that you think had some potential.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times, at least as a Bills fan, I feel like steals. Like I got a absolute steal. I don't know. I think it was a 6th round.
McCoy, are you
McCoy.
speaking to?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I got McCoy in the 6th round, and that is an absolute steal. Like I know the Bills don't ever turn out good, but they have guys that put up big numbers, and there's just some people that like I know it's kind of like everyone takes the Patriots players early because they know how they do around here because we're in New England and they watch them all the time and they can kind of get the read of this guy's gonna have a good season. I do the same thing with the Bills, but the difference is no one else watches the Bills, so I feel like I get value out of those picks. Like I legitimately thought Sammy Watkins was gonna be a top 3 talent, like a top 3 round talent, not top 3.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was getting him in the 4th round, so I really thought that was going to be a steal. I thought he was going to have a big year. And same thing with LaShawn. Like the year before, if you look at when he was actually on the field, he put up big numbers. He was just injured for half the season. And even last year, he put up huge numbers, and he was still injured for half the season. So like, he just he couldn't keep that hamstring healthy. He's got to stretch it out more or something. You know, I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's always had a little hiccup
Yeah.
injury-wise, even his time from Philadelphia.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a little bit of bonus watching games that no one else watches because you get to see you get to do the eye test on some other people and you have a different pool of players that you're like these guys are good.
And not for nothing either, Packers games in this era are always on too. They always get the Americans game of the week on Fox
Yeah.
at the 4 o'clock games, so they're always on. They're always on Sunday Night Football too. They always
Yeah.
get a good game there. So your picks, a lot of the got some Buffalo guys, you got some Green Bay guys that you certainly using the eye test for. And
yeah. I watch a lot of Green Bay. My godmother's from Wisconsin and they're always a team because I've never actually gotten to see my team make the playoffs, which is kind of sad. But
one day.
But I've always rooted for the Packers when they're and so I've started following as I've gotten older. I've started following them more and more in the regular season just because I cheer for them in the postseason. So, yeah.
Yeah. As we go on, before we get to between the Watkins and McCoy pick, let's see. You had Lamar Miller, another running back. How would you describe his? Yeah, I was gonna say that to you. Like, what'd you think of him?
He was interesting. He had some games. He was injured towards the end of the season, which kind of hurt. But he had the potential to go off. But it kind of goes to the whole Houston offense, which I thought was going to be better. But everyone's been pronouncing wrong. It's not Brock Osweiler. It's Brock Assweiler. Assweiler, because he's ass.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah. So, but I feel like he'd put up good numbers, and they knew that that's the way they were going to attack. So, but I don't know. It was weird because he had a good season, but I also felt like he underperformed compared to what his talent level is. So, like, even though he had a good season, he still I feel like underperformed.
I think you stick with your strategy all the time, your consistency strategy that we talk about. But I feel like, obviously not your fault. It's know this is gonna happen. But I feel like your strategy ended up turning a little bit different as the season went on because I think you had a lot of guys that weren't as consistent as you wanted it to be.
Oh yeah, that drove me crazy last year because they weren't. I ended up a lot because there's some points where you can have a strategy, but talent rules. Like, you can pick the most consistent guy, and if, a guy like Miller, who's that talented, drops to the 5th round, and even if he's not your guy, you kind of got to grit your teeth and you got to go, this guy's a steal with this pick. Like, he might not be consistent, but you gotta take him. The talent's there. And so, like, talent rules. You can have your strategy. You can have what you like, but the final rule is this guy gonna be good? That's how it goes.
Yeah, he took some talent. You went name based talent as well, and it really paid off for you. McCoy sixth and Fitzgerald seventh. Both had some maybe we'll call it above average seasons than what expected.
Yeah.
I would say. I know McCoy was hurt a little bit, but still played his butt off.
Yeah. I know McCoy had a ridiculous season. He carried that team like no other, and they had a disgusting offense that when he was healthy, they had like a triple option with him, Gillisley, and Tyrod Taylor, and even they made someone like you're talking like Bill Belichick when they faced him in the first time around, they could do nothing against that triple option. Like people were having a really hard time, but it was just hard to keep it on the field. But like someone like Larry Fitzgerald, you're talking a generational talent.
Oh,
Like that
one of a
guy,
kind.
that guy is like top five receivers all time easy.
Doesn't drop anything either.
Yeah, like he doesn't drop anything. He's always good for whatever, and he's dropped off a little bit from where he was.
Yeah, he was never the fastest guy.
But he's one of those guys where it's kind of like you look at him and he wants it. Like there's guys who are talented and there's guys who want it, and that's what made him great. Is he was talented and he wanted it, and some of his talent started to go away. Not saying he's not talented, but he's just not as young. He's not as fast.
Right.
But he still wants it. Like you watch, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. No, it wasn't last year because they were bad. But the year before, Arizona in the playoffs, he single-handedly willed that team to an overtime. I can't remember if they won that game.
Yeah. He had the long catch that got him to the goal line, and then they pounded it in or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. But even before that, he was the only person doing anything. Arizona was trying to give that game away, and Larry Fitzgerald was just like, "No, I'm taking this." Like he willed himself. He's one of those guys that like has always done that, and I've always been a big fan because he's once again Mr. Consistent. He's always there. He's always gonna get you points, and every once in a while he'll have one of those big games. And it just so happened that through his ups and downs and being old, getting older, he still put out last year.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that Packers Cardinals game. It's one of my favorite games of all time because Rodgers had that Hail Mary, the two bombs at the end of the fourth quarter,
Yep.
which was like that's something I've never
shit.
seen.
Yep.
That's a game I definitely watch again. They should have that on NFL Network
Yeah.
a lot. That is an all time classic.
Yep.
Going back to this, so after round 7, you're standing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just stay from this standpoint for right now.
Yeah.
You got 7 solid guys. I mean, Watkins hit or miss, but like we know he can be solid.
Yeah. He has a talent.
What do you're in the middle of a draft and you're feeling pretty good. How do you approach the rest of the draft? You going for need, or are you still going for that stuff? You staying the same way, going for that like big name if it falls. If you know you're solid right now.
I mean, by the time we get to these rounds, I feel like there's not that much like wowza, like cartoon eye popping out at any point left in the draft. At least personally, I just don't think that anyone is going to be like, how is this guy left at this point?
It's only like once in a great while in those later rounds. I'd say
once in a great while, and so by that time I kind of start going towards needs, and I start going towards like I'm willing to reach because I don't think it's a reach because I think this guy's gonna have a big season or this guy always puts up sneaky good numbers. Because I know like everyone always gives me shit about taking Tyrod Taylor, and when I took him, but like look at his numbers from last year. He doesn't put up the passing numbers, but he gets you like a minimum of 50 extra yards running per game, and that makes up for the 100 yards he doesn't get for passing.
right.
So he always does well, and then he has the games where he goes for 250 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 100 yards rushing, and 2 passing touchdowns, and it's just like get on my level.
Right.
And I don't know. I thought that was pretty good. And like I have my guys, and that's kind of where my I was talking about with you off the air today. I start to kind of at that level after like 7th, 8th round. I start trying to get the glue guys, the guys, my consistent guys that I kind of like, always keep my eye on. In the later rounds, that kind of they're always there. They always kind of put up average numbers. They don't wow you. They don't let you down, and they keep your team together. They're the in and out. They're the things that kind of stay consistent.
Your best pick of the draft was probably Melvin Gordon for value.
Oh yeah,
pound for pound in the 10th round. That kind of just solidified your running backs. Like, there used to be we used to have another kid in this league that used to be in the league, and he would always have 4 good running backs, and he'd be in the top of the playoffs every single time. Like, running back, you're absolutely right. You want good running backs at great value. If you can wait on them and you can find some guys, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And Melvin Gordon certainly was you had to start him. He went from 0 touchdowns to double-digit touchdowns in a year.
Yeah, I mean he was kind of difficult to like. I saw him and I knew he was a talented guy, but it was really difficult just because of the year he had, and I think on the depth chart they had Danny Woodhead ahead of him.
Yeah, it was kind of schematic at a point.
It was kind of schematic, but like the stars just aligned for him that season, and it was just you got your guy, and sometimes it just comes down to luck like that because every season there's going to be some running back that gets hurt, his guy that comes up behind him and goes, yeah. It's kind of like I had Derrick Henry sit on my team for the entire year because I think the dude is an absolute stud. But he's sitting behind a guy like
DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray, and I'm like, DeMarco Murray has had injury problems in the past. I'm just gonna hold on to this guy.
And he had an off season the year before.
Yep.
In Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were selling the Derrick Henry stock to us. You're like, just wait. You told us keep waiting. This guy's gonna go off. Didn't you have a week? I can't remember if you just either outright dropped him or you just benched him and he went off because like Murray wasn't playing that a week or you missed a half. Was that happen? Like you thought about starting him, but like you either just got rid of him.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I finally just sold it by the end, but that's because by the end, like we talked about the 4 running backs I picked in the draft, and then on top of that, I swiped Ajayi off of waivers. So I'm sitting there with 5 top like running backs in the entire league, and I'm sitting there with Derrick Henry on my bench going, I'm being stubborn, I'm doing what I do, I have this absolute sleeper stud when it doesn't matter because I have 5 other studs on my team. So I just needed to get rid of them.
Yeah, and you certainly had the depth throughout every position, I would say. Except tight end.
Tight end, but that wasn't. I don't know. I feel like you can go out.
You can.
You can go without a tight end.
You can.
Brian, that one's for you. You idiot. Yeah, but you can definitely go. Like you can just pick a guy and like, is it nice to get a good tight end? Yeah, but if you look when, taking Gronk in the first round, could have Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham.
First pick,
Jones.
Anyone you want.
You literally could have had anyone, and you pick a tight end. Which, yeah, is it nice to get that value, but you're not going to get the same value out of a spot that gets you a lot more points. So, I don't know.
Now, I can recall you didn't make any trades last year, right?
No.
You stood pretty pat. Your team was basically solid throughout the whole year. You started off 7-1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were basically the first seed.
Yeah.
From basically the moment we started.
I mean, I think I dropped my first game against Nate.
Yeah, week 1 and he went off.
Yeah.
But that was like his only good week.
Well, that's just because he didn't keep up with his team.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Nate.
Yeah, when you take Antonio Brown and David Johnson, your first 2 picks, and don't do anything with it.
Yep.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
Because those 2 guys could have won you the league.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's a different topic for that.
Yeah.
But for yourself, you kind of 7 wins. Basically, you look at it, by week 8, you clinched the playoff spot.
Yeah.
Even week 6 because how many points? I mean, week 7 because how many points you had.
Yeah. No, but I'm
What
not. I wasn't opposed to trading. Going back to the what you started with, but really the only thing I really needed was tight ends. Um, and I was willing to do stuff, but I was trying. I remember I was in talks with Josh, to trade
classic?
for Zach Randolph. I think it is. Is that the
Kyle. Wait.
Kyle
Oh, Zach
Randolph?
Ertz. You either
No,
got Zach Ertz, Kyle Rudolph,
Kyle Rudolph. There we go. Sorry, messing up my names. My
right off
bad.
the power forward.
Yeah. And so I was in trade talks, and I knew I'd heard what he was going to trade for, and I stepped in and I was like, whoa, 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 I'm pretty high on this guy. Like, what do you want? And he was dropping stuff, and it was just like, I'm not trading you that. Like, this is obviously significantly so much better than what Brian is like literally two times. Like he was trying to get like Larry Fitzgerald and like someone else, and I
That's what we
don't.
call fishing.
Yeah, and it was just like I wanted to have no part of that, and then ended up. I remember I had what's the guy from Cincinnati on my team.
Oh, Tyler Eifert.
Yeah,
Yep.
I had him, and he had a good year, and he's coming off injury, and I was kind of just sitting on him. And Brian also dropped
Bennett.
Bennett.
We talked about
And
that one.
I would have traded for Bennett, and I realized he probably didn't have as good as of a year, but like
Still a good name.
it's still a good name. It was better. It was more consistent than what I had, and that was a spot that where like Bennett could pop off for 25 points, or he could get you zero, but I was already getting diddly squat, so why not get that chance at getting 25 points?
Right.
I would have traded some of my extra solid backups for someone like that.
Yeah, it's a good spot to be in. However, we did see by like you did have a stretch where you lost 2 out of 3, which is obviously not bad at all for what you had before then.
Mhm.
So clearly, by week 11, week 12, you're gonna be in the playoffs, and you did lose 2 out of 3. Did you? Do you remember if you feel like you had a need to make a move? Because I know the trade deadline was basically expired by then.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had to make a move, but that's because I lost 2 out of 3. If you actually go back and look at it, that was at a point where both LaShawn McCoy and AJ Green were hurt. They were
Oh,
both
okay.
out,
Okay.
/ buys, and so one of those weeks is there's a lot because I had Green Bay, and I had the Bills, a lot of players. I believe one of those there was a significant amount of buys on my team, and the other two games there were a lot of injuries, like major injuries to major guys, or they started the game but they left early, type deals.
That's what's good about having that depth
Yeah.
there. One guy goes out, you put another one in.
Yep.
Um, and then you won weeks 12, 13, and 14,
Yeah.
and you went into the playoffs 11-3, very solid. You tie with Nico, but you had the points, so you obviously got the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very impressive for starting off the first season in the league.
Yeah.
I know you did have some experience in it before, but
I
definitely
mean, I was
11-3 is not to
impressed.
sneeze at.
Yeah, I was impressed.
You and Nico.
I don't think that I'm not thinking I'm gonna do as well. I hope I'll be able to be in the mix and make it in the playoffs, but I don't think I'm gonna have as dominant as the season that I did last year. That was impressive. I got some luck. I got some
You hit well early
hit well.
on when that was key.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you did have your playoffs came to a abrupt end in the semis
Yeah.
when you lost the teach. Your team just
Another
gave out.
Yeah.
Being beat up and
Yep.
and such.
Yep. LaShawn McCoy and both AJ Green once again went out early in those games.
And that's when we talk about before, where we talk about those name talents. I think when I mean a name talent, that means this guy's been around for years and years. He's been consistent, good, but he might have a chance of a downfall because either injury or just getting old. Your team might have got beat up at the end.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
A lot of it got beat up. It just a lot of the losses I had last season were because LaShawn McCoy and AJ Green, who were both really backbones for my team, they went out with injuries, so it made it really difficult when those guys go out.
Yeah, and I I was actually really expecting you and Nico match final. I was really looking forward to it, but actually not. Believe it or not, both 11-3 teams didn't make it. Which
Yeah, that's
you put up
amazing.
138 and Nico put up 137. Teach put up 155 and Mike put up 146. None of those weeks are good.
Yeah,
Let me
no,
make that straight. Because just to recap, a good
you put up 210, you should win.
yeah,
Almost
that's above
anything.
average. I would say average is around 170, 180.
Yeah,
An average league.
180, you're definitely in it to win any game. 190 to 210,
You're most likely
you're most likely going to win unless if you're taking the one guy's team who popped off.
like for 230, which
Yeah,
happened once in a great while.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, came to abrupt end. Um,
It happens.
happens. You got $30 out of it though,
Yeah,
so that's why I like to do most points because you
yeah.
clearly earned it.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
those people that say record is to get the money, I completely disagree. Even though you did have both, but
yeah,
most points is definitely shows
yeah,
who is the best for that season, and
exactly.
you clearly the clear winner of the season for the most part.
Yeah,
Very successful season. So we go we look into this year. You in the lottery you finished third, so you had sixth best odds to get the first pick. Obviously, Brian dropping from third to seventh caused a lot of people to bump up, so that moved you to fifth.
yeah,
And clearly, fifth is a kind of a weird spot. Fourth and fifth are a little weird, right in the middle, especially in 18 leagues, a little weird. How do you
yeah.
feel about the fifth pick going into it?
Um, I don't know. It's really difficult to kind of gauge where the fifth pick is because it can be good. I don't like it in the later rounds because you're waiting so long in between players. Um, but it can also be good because like someone makes a mistake in your opinion or whatever, you can still have a top three talent on the board in your opinion, depending on what other people's boards are. Like someone can drop, and then if that doesn't happen, you're stuck between getting people who are a talent this year and a talent next year. Like someone who went off last year. Um, someone who went off last year. Uh, in in the way for someone that you think is going to go off this year. So it's kind of really difficult to put pit like I like it, but I don't because it can put it in, and I just don't like it in the later rounds, especially because you don't get those back to back picks.
Right. Yep.
You don't get to make picks like right after each other.
And a lot of people benefit from that.
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting. Um, fifth pick. I'm not a fan personally. I mean, I had fourth last year. I have third this year. I actually like third better than fourth. I'd rather be like near one side of the spectrum at this
Yeah,
point in the game.
I'd rather be at one side of the spectrum, but at least this year I think there's a lot of talent out there, like a lot of potential top talent. Like you're talking if you look at receivers, it really helps that we're in a PPR league because you got your running backs who are going to go off. You got your Bells and your Johnsons, and then you have your Odell Beckhams and your Browns
Yeah, it just opens up
and your
a
Julios, and right there's five people who, depending on who you talk to, could go one,
it opens up a range
depending on what year. And so like,
of what you want to do with your team.
and then and so I don't know. I feel like I can get a top talent and that helps. But it's
Sure can. Um, Not only that you pick towards the middle, you also pick next to me and Nico. So that's gonna be especially if we're doing an offline draft where we're just
there's gonna be a lot of mind games
looking
between
each
the
other in
three
the
of
eye,
us because
making
we
these
we
picks.
know we know. Like I said last year, I took Aaron Rodgers as early as I did because there was really no one that I saw that really fit in that spot, and I knew Nico was gonna take him in the second or third round. Like I knew. I've known Nico for long enough that I knew that he was going to take him. And so,
Yeah,
like, you got to be prepared if you're, you know, Mike or I. Nico gets, he only gets two in between us each way. But, like, with Mike and I, we got to be prepared to have four people Not even talking about anyone else's picks. Like,
That
almost
could, yeah.
guaranteed 4 people that you would like on your team gone.
Yeah, and certainly a wild card is going to be Nick and Alex. How they draft. I mean, we could, even if it's just one of them that drafts similar to us, that could really put a huge spin on the draft.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
they don't. You believe it or not, you're actually 2 or 3 spots away from them each, so they don't really affect you. They're like the least likely to affect you,
yeah.
because where your spot is, but
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like having Nico next to me just because I feel like we're closer in strategy. Him and I are closer in who we like.
that makes okay. Yeah, I would say that.
Like very much who we like. He just plays it in a different way. And then does Teach have 7th? I believe.
Teach does have 7th, yes.
And
No, no, because everyone moved up. Teach has 6
yeah,
now.
Teach has 6. I'm okay picking next to Teach because we both obviously have strategies that have worked. But
His was completely different.
but his is completely different, and just by looking at the players he went after,
He was the most unique team.
he it doesn't seem like we have very much the same player pool that we like to go after. So I'm not too worried about him. I'm not that worried about Brian. He's just gonna pick all his fucking tight ends again. So yeah, that's right, Brian. I'm calling you out.
Brian, you're gonna have to prove something this year. Genco is down on you after last year, from Bennett to Gronk, so on. I like maybe a little talk during the draft too. A
Yeah.
little trash talk. That'd be funny.
Oh yeah. Oh no. That's Brian. Just be prepared, and you kind of got to take it on the chin until you prove something, and then you can throw it right back. But until that point, just gonna light a little fire under your butt.
Absolutely. It's gonna be interesting. Question for you: what record? We're talking about the 4 seed. What record makes the playoffs this year? I've asked everyone this. What record makes the playoffs?
Let's see. 12. Is it? No, it's 14-game season.
It's a 14-game season. Yep.
I'll say 8-6.
8-6. You think there's gonna be?
I think
Wow,
there's actually going to be a larger disparity between top and bottom.
No kidding, huh? A
No,
lot of people.
I'm not saying the bottoms are going to be like over, but I think the top is going to be like they're all going to beat up on each other, and the bottoms are going to claw it out. But there is going to be a very
Who is gonna make the playoffs and who isn't.
yeah.
It's happened before.
Yeah, I just think I have that feeling with the way everything's going. I just have that feeling that it's good. There's going to be, there's going to be a clean line. It's not going to be a scrap for the finish with, top teams are top, middle or middle, bottom or bottom. I think it's going to be top bottom, and
Yeah. Well, last year you were obviously one of them. We had 2 top heavy teams.
yeah.
Then we had 3 teams that were 6 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, 2 of them make the playoffs. I think I was 8-6.
Mm-hmm.
So like even he was 3 games away, and
Yeah.
then the 4 seed was 5 games
Yep.
off of you. Very top heavy. As kind of balanced it was in the middle with the 3, 6, and 8 teams. It was
Yeah.
still a discrepancy.
I just don't think that I'm going to be able to go ahead and pick people like LaShawn McCoy, who had an absolute that guy carried my team in the 6th round, and Nico's not going to be able to get Julio Jones and Mike Evans. Like, that's not going to happen. And get Tom Brady. Like, I just don't think that those mistakes are going to be made.
Pick 5th. Think about it now. Mike Evans been a name talk around this late first. Been a discussion on this podcast. What's your feelings on him?
I like him. I think he's really good.
Buccaneers been interesting talk.
Yeah. And I think that, I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be great. I think he's a great talent. Also, for all you single men and ladies out there, you find a significant other that looks at Mike Evans like Jameis Winston looks at Mike Evans. You do that because that man can't take his eyes off him. You ever watch that game?
Well, can you blame him? You know how many he's making him get big money.
Yeah,
You
no.
know, he's helping get that paycheck.
I know, but his eyes are glued to him. But
6'5" getting those balls.
yeah,
I'd be looking at the eyes too.
yeah. So I don't know. He's good. I don't know if he's pick number 5 good. I don't know if he's broken into that first round talent because, as I said, there's just so many people this year.
The reason I mentioned him because we talk about like the core very very top players that are gonna obviously gonna go early, but it gets to a point in the mid first late first that like it kind of like it depends. It's on a preference, and it's no longer like a solid top 4 or 5 players. It kind of like goes on preference.
I don't know. It's really deep because I just named 5 that like are real like top level. Then you have like someone like AJ Green.
That's what
Who
I'm
I didn't
saying.
even
You know,
count, like I don't know.
we even mentioned him again.
I wouldn't even. I would not put Mike Evans on AJ. I think he has the talent to get there. I wouldn't put him on AJ Green talent level yet. Like, just because he's just so proven on a proven team.
Yeah,
So
those are
there's people like that, and then like you have Zeke,
right.
and so like you're looking at it, and it's like, I could see if you're really high on the guy taking him, but like,
Those are just 2 examples to show like how it could go in the late
Yeah.
first round, early second. It could go. Like I said, just preference.
yeah.
Because usually early first rounds, in most cases, it's just like
If you're
okay, you got to
really
get these
high-
core 4.
If you're like really high on Gronk, I can see him in the early first, but that's still
I don't think it's gonna happen again
It's
after
reaching.
last year.
Brian. If you take Gronk in the early first, I'm coming after you. I'm just saying.
That would
Calling
be
you
7th
out.
pick. 7th
Calling
pick.
you out, Brian. Take him, I dare you. Be butt dancing on your face.
He would probably not hear the end of that, and that was just because of you. I think other people would say something, but definitely you, of all people.
Yep. No, I mean, I expect him if I make some ridiculous reach and miss. I expect the same exact thing back, but you know.
Question: will you be talking a little ridiculous? Maybe some comments during the draft because offline it's gonna go a little bit slower pace. Might be more
Oh,
of a
yeah.
mental game.
I'll be talking out of my ass just because it'll make me comfortable. It'll let me like get my head off things because I can't let you and Nico get in my head because I know you guys are already in my head just by looking at me. Just because I know what you guys are thinking. We have not talked fantasy and who we really want this year after last year. But I know who you're looking at. You know who I'm looking at. Nico knows who I'm looking at. So like I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's if we could create draft storylines in a fantasy football draft somehow, that would be the stories us 3 picking together. Close. That would be the storyline. Any bold predictions for this year?
Well, I don't know. So I've kind of got 2.
All right, we can hear it. We
One
can
of them's
explore
more
both
of
of
a
them.
troll. That's Brian's going 0-12.
I don't think that's gonna. That'd be bold.
Sorry, it's 2-12. My bad.
I'll take you to Federal Hill if he goes over in 12.
Okay.
I'll buy you the
I don't know. I'm
expensive
saying
dinner.
0-12. I mean 0-14.
Yeah.
But
Got yeah.
that's-
0-14. If he
that's-
starts 0-12, I'll still do it.
Okay. But I don't know. I have a feeling just with all of us being next to each other, and I really like the 2 new guys that we've have as owners,
Nick and Alex. Yep.
Nick and Alex. I think Josh O'Brien's gonna turn it around. I really do. I think Teach is gonna stay just because he's so different than everyone else. Teach is gonna have a big advantage because I think even looking at his team, I still haven't figured out what he's gonna do, but I really feel like either you, Nico, and I think only one of us can make the playoffs. I think the other 2 are going to suffer because of where we are in the draft.
One of the 3. Wow.
One of the 3
Yeah.
of us will only make it to the playoffs. The other 2 will make it out.
That's certainly bold. Yeah.
I think we're going to beat up each other by either just the mental game of like taking someone that we want early, or just getting screwed out of your picks and then having to pick from a bunch of players that you're taking guesses on because you don't watch that guy or you don't know that guy or you're not comfortable with that guy and take a little bit. So instead of being able to use, like, I feel like the three of us we all use the eye test like a lot. And we like to take guys that we watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's we're gonna beat up on each other.
That's certainly
And
bold.
really make each other uncomfortable.
Certainly bold, because we've always been considered like top favorites.
Yeah.
Going, especially you and Nico. You know, guys both won 11-3.
Yeah.
Clear class of the league last year, without a doubt.
Yeah. But without keepers, it's very. It's
brand new every year.
Yeah, it's brand new every year.
Brand new every year.
Every year. So.
Man, it's good talking.
Yeah.
Good talking fantasy, guy. It's been way overdue.
Yeah, we haven't done it in a long, long time.
Nope. And I guess we can go on to the last part of the show, podcast, whatever you call it. What are you feeling? You feeling either football or Celtics off season?
Kind of want to talk about Celtics off season because we haven't talked about this offline yet. You know, other than me sending you my morningly text every once in a while.
Yeah.
About being sad or being happy about some off.
We can do that.
To talk.
We did that for 9-10 minutes. We gotta start first off. Jason Tatum. Have you looked?
Stud.
Have you looked at the summer league stats?
Stud. Absolutely.
Have you watched them?
Yes.
I gotta say I'm impressed.
I am super impressed. I saw your tweet. I absolutely loved it. I can't believe the Celtics let two other people possibly try to pick this guy.
It was more of a joke, but
yeah.
it's actually becoming serious.
Yeah. I do think that, Lonzo Ball, I'm still courts out. I don't think Markelle Fultz is going to be a stud in the way people are saying he's going to be. I think he's going to be an all-star. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I can't. It's hard to say what kind of guy he's going to be. Maybe like a John Wall, but I don't think he's going to be as good as him. I really don't. I think it's going to be like a John Wall, but doesn't really ever find his groove. I don't know. I just kind of get that vibe. I could be completely wrong. He could be a stud, but I don't know. But Tatum seems, right now, especially, like he is ready out of the draft. He is ready.
His maturity as a scorer is what impressed me the most.
Yeah.
He's creating his own shots. It's something the Celtics needed desperately. And I think me and you both talked about that.
Yeah.
Because when Isaiah Thomas, you can't do it all on your own, especially at 5'9".
Yeah.
I mean, yes, 30 points a game is unreal.
What he does is unreal, but like
you need someone else.
Yeah, he needs someone else, and now you got two guys, and I'm really interested to see how he grows and how Brown grows with him, because I think quite frankly, I think Tatum's great. I think he's a stud. I still think Brown has a higher ceiling. I think that guy is just freakishly athletic.
Yeah, he has plenty of time to develop.
Tatum has the basketball skills, and I think, quite frankly, needs to work on some of his athleticism and speed to be like.
Put those two guys together, huh?
Yeah, you combine those two guys, you have an all-time great. Put those two guys together, you have fucking LeBron. But Brown has the sheer athleticism. Needs to tune it up a little bit. And Tatum has the finesse, and just needs to. I'm not saying the dude's out of shape or anything, but just in comparison to a guy like Brown, his athleticism is something he could work on a little bit.
We think about the lineup now. We know 1, 3, and 5 are virtually set with obviously Thomas, Hayward, and Horford.
Yeah.
Do you start the likes of Tatum or Brown at the 2 or 4, even though they're traditional 3? What do you think?
I personally think by the end of the year, you're going to have both Tatum and Brown. You're going to have Brown at the 2 and Tatum at the 4.
You think so?
I think by the end of the year.
No kidding.
I really do.
Really?
I think that.
You don't think rebound would be a problem if you at the 4 if you put one of them there?
I really don't, because
you have Morris.
Yeah, you have Morris, but
and just keep in mind with Morris in Detroit, that some of his rebound stats were hindered just due to Andre Drummond being hogging up the paint, getting 15 boards a game.
I know,
So it kind of brings down everyone's boards a
but
little bit.
I mean, I'm gonna go with the old like. Do you need rebounds when you have all that talent when they're gonna be knocking down those shots? Like, I'm not saying that actually, but
They're
like,
gonna be hitting growing pains though,
yeah.
as
Oh
young
no,
guys.
and that's the reason why I'm saying by the end of the season. Like, there's no way that you can start that. But I think there's actually going to be a problem. I'm really scared about um having Jay
Oh
Crowder
yeah, Jay
still on the
Crowder,
team.
could start the 4. That's what the
Yeah,
speculation.
yeah. But I'm afraid of having him on the team because I really think that he's salty that the Celtics went ahead and went up and picked up Hayward.
I thought there was a point in time that it was like 100% he's gonna get traded.
Yeah,
I can't believe he hasn't been traded yet.
that's what I want. I wanted like I loved him and he was my favorite player like 2 years ago, but I just can't like I just think just because of the way he is, he's gonna create like locker room drama.
I hope not.
I
I hope
hope
not.
not, but I think it's
I think he's gonna get his time to
I
play, at least early on too.
yeah, I think early on, but I think towards the end
It's a little crowded.
I
It's a little
think
crowded.
I think he's gonna be coming off the bench because I think Tatum is actually right now. I realize it's the summer league, but I think give him he might not start, but I think he's more ready to start than Brown is right now. Just looking at him.
It depends what you're asking out of the player. If you're asking for scoring, that's very well the possibility. But if you're looking for like overall creating space in the floor, defense, maybe doing like the small things
Yeah,
like a Marcus Smart does, then you're looking for Brown.
yeah,
Because Smart can start as a 2 now. That's the possibility because we know he's a combo guard. Um,
yeah. I don't know.
like
It'll be interesting to see what they do with Rozier.
he's gonna have to be the backup point guard off the bench. That's what it looks like. Danny Ainge is putting a lot of faith in him.
Yeah,
Risky, and those jokes have been online of saying, you won't trade Terry Rozier for anything.
yeah,
He must see something in him. Clearly, seen something in Tatum if he's gonna take him one,
yeah.
and so far it's looking
I was gonna
pretty
say
damn good.
he's been looking like a stud.
Everyone's saying best player of the summer league right now.
Yeah, and so like I think he was the most ready, but we'll see how he grows compared to other people, because he's almost ready for good amount of time right now. Like
Yeah, we'll see when the NBA defenders get on him if he adjusts a little bit.
yeah,
Obviously, gonna be some growing pains,
but
but
I think
I can't wait though.
I just in Brad we trust
And Bradley trust.
because the guy I don't know, and that's one of I've always been a huge proponent of the Celtics need to keep these picks, and that's because you have a guy in Brad Stevens that I feel like can grow talent like no other.
You know what's funny too? You look at some of the analytics I've read before. It kind of seems like Paul George is a little overrated, and Gordon Hayward's underrated. I'm still saying Paul George is better, but I think the gap between them two is not as big as people think. But certainly having Paul George would have solidified them as a major threat. They're a threat right now, but major threat, a slight threat to Cleveland.
It depends on how good Gordon Hayward melts, like comes into the team, and it really depends on how. Because I don't think Hayward is going to be used as the same type of player as he was in Utah. I think Brad Stevens has a very different.
It's a system that works for him.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's saying at least. So
Yeah, and so I think he's gonna be a different style player, and we'll see how that turns out. I'm interested to see how it works because I'm really excited to watch just to have another scorer like Hayward, and then if Tatum comes into his own with a guy like Hofford, because
the versatility is just
Al
great.
Horford just gets exponentially better with the more talent he gets on the floor.
And that's something we definitely talked about before.
Yeah. He does all, and I know everyone says this, but he does all the little things right.
He does.
He spaces the floor.
Absolutely.
He gives more stuff, and so when you have a guy that just needs that much more space,
Great passing, big
He
man.
gives it great passing. We could use a little bit more rebounding, but I really think,
Solid player.
yeah,
Solid
I
player.
think they just need to get back to the chip on the shoulder, rebounding defense as they were 2 years ago.
2 years. Yep, I was just about to say that.
They can do it. I'm a little bit afraid without Bradley because Bradley was one of those big guys into that. But we'll see. We'll see with Hayward how he turns out.
Looking forward to it. It's gonna be a very, very interesting season.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they turn out to be like a successful season like you had in fantasy last year.
Yeah.
That win percentage. Also, looking forward to this season for us. It's gonna be mysterious how we're gonna redraft.
Yeah. It'll be
Genco,
interesting.
I thank you for coming on. This is long overdue.
Yep.
Glad we could do this. You can follow this podcast on Twitter _ the horizontal. Once again, season 1, episode 4. Next episode is going to be Nick Salvatore with possibly Alex House on. We might do two of them at the same time, depending on scheduling, or we might have Alex as a separate one. We're going to test some things out because they're in a different state from us. But we'll see. We're going to have something next week, most likely. This is Mike Judici. Thank you for listening.